Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Mike, and Maggie's not here because we are all under quarantine. So we are about a week and a half into a pretty much full lockdown of the city of Atlanta, and everybody's working from home. All of our kids are home, and it's taken a bit of adjustment. But to keep things fresh, I'm going to surprise Maggie with an impromptu Friends on Fire episode. So let's give her a call. She does not know this is coming.
Hello.
Hey, Maggie. This is a new segment I'm calling Surprise, You're on Friends on Fire.
Nah, really?
Yeah.
Can't tell if you're serious or not.
I think you should sit down. Let's have a conversation.
Are you serious about that this is Friends on Fire?
Yeah, absolutely, Maggie.
Okay.
This is part of my new segment.
Okay. I can't tell if you're serious, but regardless, keep going.
I was just telling everybody that we have been under very strict quarantine for a long time. Offices are closed. School is closed. Our kids are at home. It's been kind of trying. And you and I just got some sort of depressing news today.
Yeah, so wait, are you being serious? This is actually a surprise Friends on Fire?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, we got some, I don't know if I'd use the word depressing, but yeah, we got some news today.
As we discussed on last Monday's episode, which we recorded on Sunday the 15th, the economic impacts of this virus are significant, and it's been hitting hotels and airlines first and hardest. And so Marriott announced that they were doing some major layoffs and they were making some pay cuts, and today our company did the same. I still can't tell if this is serious. Maggie, this is part of our new segment called Surprise, You're on Friends on Fire.
Surprise, where you just surprise me and call me and start talking like we're on the podcast when I'm like in the middle of, I was just finishing dinner with my family and I'm like trying to get my kids to bed. Okay, yeah, surprise. Yeah, so we got some news today that we're in the same category, but like every different level has a different pay cut. I think this is pretty public information at this point. We both are in the range that is a 20% pay cut almost immediately, like in another week or two.
Yeah. And it's a significant number.
Actually, I didn't realize how significant. At first, I just kept thinking 20%, and it felt smaller. And then later this afternoon, I actually did the math, and I was like, oh, it's more than I thought it was, actually. But, I mean, honestly, I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's better than starting to kind of pick and choose who gets laid off. And, we got to make those cutbacks in some way. And so, though I think it's tough, honestly, like I was telling someone else, this is literally what I've been preparing for my entire life. This is why I live my life the way I do. I was never expecting something quite like this, but I always have this belief that something could happen that's unexpected, and again, never would have predicted it's this exactly, and never truly believed it would happen, but that's why I've been living below my means for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been kind of surprised by my own personal reaction to it. I think part of it is that I've been, the whole finance organization's been very busy during this time, as I think all finance groups and all companies are. But I really wasn't that upset by it. Is that weird? Am I in denial?
No, I know what you mean. I wasn't that upset by it either. And I think it's a combination of knowing the financial reality that our company is in, and not just our company, but the entire travel industry right now, and quite frankly, a more broad economy in the world. And so there's something about feeling like this isn't just me, this is we're all taking a hit right now, and like this is my fair share of it, like so be it. I think that's half of the reason I wasn't totally like thrown off by it in any way. And then the other half is because this is going to have a material impact to like me and when I can retire and all sorts of other things, and like how much money I have, but this is not going to have a material impact to my day-to-day lifestyle because I already live like I took way more than a 20% pay cut a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so this just impacts how much I can save for the future, quite frankly. Sorry, that came out quite frankly. Yeah,
you make an interesting point that the coronavirus is it is impacting all countries and all industries and really all people. And so the fact that it's happening so broadly globally, and then our company is also take some cutbacks very equally across everybody, it lessens the feeling that we're being punished, you know? It's sort of this like act of God type thing. And now it's, all right, well, this happened. Let's move on. I'm glad I get to keep my job and continue working with people like Maggie.
Yeah. You were the first person I thought of after I got that news. Was like, well, thank goodness I get to keep working with Mike, you know? I would take like a 99% pay cut for that, you know?
Oh, can I mark you down for that?
No, actually, I forgot you work in finance. No, actually, I was just kidding. That was a terribly placed joke.
Yeah, that was in poor taste, Maggie.
So, I agree. It's funny, like, right when I heard the news, which was early this morning for both of us, I went and told my husband, and I was just sort of like, I just got a 20% pay cut. It was very sort of like conversational, like, you know, like, who's lost their job today, you know? And it was just sort of like, quite honestly, I'm grateful to have a job. I'm grateful to have a job for a company that I really like and that has been very good to me over the past 13, 14 years that I've worked at it. And so I really do try to look at things glass half full and be grateful for all the things I do have and think like, look, there's some bad stuff's going to happen and go down over the coming months. People are losing their lives, you know, just crazy stuff's happening. This is small in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. I also think it's important that we recognize and talk a little bit about the impacts this is having on people who are in a different situation.
Yeah, that's why I'm not so upset about it.
Yeah.
Because we'll get by. We'll be totally fine. You know, again, some hits, but I have that perspective and context.
And I think, you know, there are a lot of people who, I think many Americans who losing one paycheck is the difference between paying your bills, you know, putting food on the table or not. And so
I'll take that up a notch. Or you want to finish your thoughts? Sorry.
No, I can see that our surprise You're on Friends on Fire episodes are just like our normal episodes.
Yeah, well, we're over the phone, so I can't see you, so I couldn't tell you were about to say something.
Oh, Maggie, I am always about to say something, and it doesn't matter to you.
Oh, that's funny. So, sorry, I was getting a text about something, which is why I actually didn't hear what you said. So now you're distracted during our podcast?
Well,
I was not prepared for this.
This is this is going to be our worst episode ever.
First off, just to be clear, you told me you needed to discuss something work-related. And so I actually just told my husband, I was like, and I've been like MIA all day dealing with work stuff, and I keep like leaving the kids with him. And I just said, I got a really quick work call I got to deal with.
And so it's actually a podcast.
I know, and it's actually a surprise podcast. No, the other thing I was going to say, which I kind of forgot, was going to come back to me in a second. Oh, is like you were saying, you know, a lot of families, one person losing their jobs would like tip them over the edge. And,
no, losing one paycheck.
Oh, losing one paycheck. Sorry. Actually, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say the 20% cut. You're right. We're making the exact same point. I misunderstood what you said. Yes, losing one paycheck would be the difference. There's the stat that keeps getting repeated a lot lately about, you know, one $400 to $500 expense. There's I don't know the exact percentage of people, but there's a huge percentage of people who couldn't handle that surprise emergency expense of $500. And losing a paycheck is a lot more than that to many people. And you're right. That is the difference between them being able to, you know, pay their bills and other things. I have a good friend who actually recently texted me. Well, she works for a vendor of an airline company. And she just had to like let her whole team go, and she had to personally take a pretty massive pay cut from what she said. And she was just kind of commenting like, I heard there's going to be some like mortgage relief programs and other things. I hope so. And it was just reminding me like, you know, a lot of people, you know, quote, like us, it is pretty like down to the wire that like, you know, they lose a little bit of their income and, you know, they're pretty like leveraged and, you know, spending a lot of what they make paycheck to not quite paycheck to paycheck, but pretty close to it.
This is going to be really interesting for the whole fire community. You know, when we talk about saving money, Maggie, you and I are talking about aggressive early retirement plans. But the side benefit of this, and we've touched on this before, is that in the event that not everything goes great. You know, the market doesn't continue to climb by double digits every year. This sort of event, a temporary pullback in the economy or recession or depression, is something that becomes less stressful, becomes something that we can work through and manage. I think in our future episodes, at least for the near term, you know, we might be taking a little bit different of a tact and an angle on how we talk about saving money and what it means.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. Some activities that can happen over like a 2 to 3 week time period can have a fundamental impact on how you thought you were going to live your life over the next few years. Right? Like with everything you just said, I've often been thinking over the past couple of days, I'm like, okay, I need to shift my mindset. Like, I was kind of in the mindset of like, I could retire in the next couple of years if I wanted to now or in the next couple of years. And now I'm like, okay, nope, not anymore. Like, you know, a huge portion of, you know, what I had is now gone. And a huge portion of what I thought I could accrue over the next, accrue is not the right word, is it? And may continue to, you know, be more gone.
More gone. And
I trust they'll be back for the time. More gone. That's an official term. Yeah. It's like a percentage, you know, like at least 20% more gone.
Did you lose your train of thought?
No, I was just wrapping up. Just trying to like, you know, have some brevity. It's not my strong suit, so you probably didn't recognize what was happening there. I'm just ending a thought.
Wow, Maggie, you know, of all the stuff that's happened in the past few weeks, you being concise is the most alarming.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all having to change during these troubled times, so I'm just trying to do my best. Hold on, I'm wait till they're being noisy, and I just want to think about something real quick. Hey, what are you guys doing? Okay. Can you try to keep it down? I'm trying to... Cat ate your gym suit. Can you keep it down? Because I'm trying to... Yeah. Can you guys please keep it down? I'm trying to record a podcast. Now? Yeah, right now I'm recording a podcast.
Maggie, that's not the best thing you could do right now.
I'm being kicked out of here now.
Okay, so let's just wrap this one up, and like we like to do with all of our normal episodes, give kind of our key takeaways. But in this case, how about we just give some of our key thoughts for how to approach the next few months financially, maybe emotionally if you want. We haven't discussed this list, so Maggie, why don't you start first?
Yeah, so a couple thoughts. First off, you say, like, wrap up this episode. This was not exactly an episode. You called me suddenly, said you had something urgent, work-related. It's Friday night at 8:30, to be clear. You said you had something urgent, work-related to discuss, and we've been dealing with a lot of, like, back-and-forth financial stuff all week, so I really was like, oh, I gotta deal with this, and, like, so this was a surprise episode. Just thought that was worth clarifying. So, I'm just, like, I'm trying to, like, just sort of off the cuff think about the things that are on my mind. One is, you know, we're going to do a more detailed episode on this lately, but I think a lot of people right now should be living like they might lose their job or they just lost their job. And that I think is a very like controversial statement in a way, because on the flip side, I've heard a lot of people saying like, hey, support your local businesses. Like, I keep seeing kind of like social posts that are like, you know, if you have a hairdresser or someone who cleans your house or like anything and you can't go to them anymore because of this quarantine, like still pay them and still give them that, you know, revenue stream. And I found it kind of interesting because like all the things people are talking about, like buying restaurant gift cards and all this other stuff, I'm like, I wasn't doing any of that stuff in the first place. Like to us, like so much has not actually been changing. Like we don't spend that much money on a day-to-day basis. And so it's been a little tricky because I'm like, you know, it's like I want to help small businesses and I want to help the economy, but at the same time, I wasn't doing that stuff before, and now is not a better time for me to do it. You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit tricky, and I think it's up, I guess my point is it's up to everybody's personal situation, but like, as an example, if you work in the travel industry right now, you might want to be cautious how you're spending your money because the travel industry is going through a pretty rough time right now, an unprecedented time, and travel has essentially stopped around the world within, you know, a couple of weeks. And I think people need to just be careful on kind of what they're spending and really think and be more prudent than they might typically be, because we're about to go through just a tough time economically as a nation and as a world. So that's kind of the first thing on my mind, which is just like quit spending money and kind of like curb it in. What are your thoughts on that?
I think your new theme of brevity lasted about 2 minutes.
It's really tough when we're on the phone and I can't see you.
Yes. And just picture me smirking at you all the time, which is how we normally interact during our podcast. I agree. There is a tendency, I believe, to think that, after, a 10 plus year bull market where the economy is doing awesome and you have like really what seems like 1 week, maybe 2 weeks of terrible news, that this is just going to blow over. And so I think people should prepare themselves for, 3 or 6 months of this, a year or 2 or 3 years of low or no economic growth. And if it blows over in a month, that's great. But definitely take this opportunity to change your behavior now, because I think you would regret continuing to spend at a certain pace and then after a year find out that this isn't coming back and this is going to stay, the conditions are going to stay quite poor for a long time.
I think one thing that you were saying, you were starting to say prepare for, and I wanted to fill in the blank, but I was really trying to let you finish your thought. But I was thinking prepare for the worst, right? Which is my only point when I say almost act like you have already lost your job, because a lot of people could and will. And I think the more people, and you can't fix the past. There's a lot of things that perhaps you would wish you had done differently now that you realize this tough time we're going through, but you can't fix that. There's no point in dwelling on it. Focus on the future. Focus on the decisions you make today and tomorrow and the next day. This is a silly little example, but there's a couple of food things where I was like, well, we could use this. And then I'm like, well, we've really stocked up and we could eat for weeks on what's in our house right now. Doesn't mean it's my first choice for anything, but I'm going to kind of run through what we have now. I'm not going to do what is typically normal, which is you go to the grocery store before you really fully need to again. There's just a lot of things I think where people can make decisions day to day that may not always feel comfortable, especially if it's different to you, but that they are decisions that are more financially responsible and can kind of, I like the term financially fit lately, can keep you more financially fit during a time when there's a lot of value in getting financially fit.
The last point I'd like to make is that people should use this opportunity to read the financial news and be aware of what's happening in the market. For me personally, the most valuable lessons I learned about investing and about company valuation and performance were when things really hit the fan for certain companies, or for all companies, during the recession, during some of the volatile periods post-recession. But, now is the time to understand what happens when a risky portfolio comes to bite you. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of money to be made when you are investing in the market, but there is a lot of risk. And now that we have suffered through this catastrophe, maybe it's flattened out, maybe it's going to get worse. The more you can expose yourself to this and the more you can learn, the better off you're going to be for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well said.
Do you want to wrap this up, Maggie?
Oh, I had a list of 6 other things.
Oh, there's more?
No, I think it's just, I think this is I'll sort of tie this to financial stuff, but also to just many aspects of your life. I often like to, there's a lot of phrases that are very popular, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, etc. But take a moment that might feel tough and stressful and just, the unknown and the amount of change and sad and just, all these emotions, and try to find the good in them, right? And try to find I think it's try to find the good and try to kind of recognize all the great things that are happening and where you can create happiness every day. And then also, I totally forgot my second point.
It was so eloquent, though.
It's going to come back, and then you can just edit out oh my gosh, I forgot my second point.
No, it's not going to come back.
Wait. No, it's coming. Hold on, wait for it. It's going to be good. Just give me a second. It's just reinforcing the point that I was making earlier. Try to control the things you can control. There's so many things happening in the world that we can't control right now. There are many things that we can control. We can control that we're self-quarantining and that we're staying safe and not, continuing to, be around people at a time when it's not helpful to be. We can control our environment in our house and the time we're spending with our kids or the time we're spending with the family members that we're able to be around. We can control, having a clean and tidy house and making a space that makes you happy, and I'm just using examples, from my kind of day to day, but there are things you still can control and focus on those. You can control how you respond to people. You can control, I went for a run tonight. Don't worry, I didn't trip. I went for a run tonight and there's so many people. I've noticed this all week. There's so many people out and about. I think partially the weather is a lot nicer in Atlanta right now and everybody's working remote or not everybody, but a lot of people are working remote. And so there's just way more people around the neighborhood all the time and people feeling cooped up. And so I notice a lot of people out walking and I've just really made it a point to really say hi in a more focused and meaningful way. And I was just making funny comments to people out in their yard and stuff. And I just it was making me happy to interact with neighbors that I didn't even know and just sort of, again, focus on what you can control and do your best to get through what is a tough time for many, many people on many different levels.
That was very beautiful, Maggie.
Oh, thanks. Are you getting teared up?
Yes, because I have also noticed myself doing the same. I think even though we're both introverts, I do miss people. Is that weird?
Yeah, I was joking at the beginning of the week that this is a dream come true for introverts. Not a dream come true, but that all the introverts, myself included, are I got no problem staying home all week. I didn't want to go anywhere anyways. I do notice that I'm I get really excited to have just a quick chat with a friend or a neighbor, and it's these little simple things that I'm rediscovering in life are actually quite lovely. And I'm noticing I've had some amazing moments with my kids this week. Just little moments in the middle of the day where we're talking about something and I'm getting so much more time with them. And they're so funny and they're so interesting. This is kind of such a fun age right now. And it's just I've noticed all these things about them that in the rush of my previous life prior to this week, I didn't often appreciate. I was very busy at work all day. I'd come home. I would spend time with them, but it just, like I've talked about before, it wasn't as focused as I wanted it to be and I wasn't as present. And I've not had a choice but to be present this week. And I can't go anywhere, so I have to be present.
Right.
And I've just, I've noticed a lot of little simple things. And I know on our episode last week or a couple weeks ago, we quoted the author who talked about the quarantine of consumption and just the idea of we're consuming less all of a sudden, but it's almost the things we are consuming in a way have more impact on us than any of this stuff has anyways, right? We're consuming more quality time with our friends. I've actually really enjoyed all the video calls with my coworkers, and I was talking to someone on the phone about this tonight or this afternoon. I'm in their house, I'm in their bedroom, I'm in their office, their kids are running by behind them, I'm seeing their spouse in the other room, and I'm I almost feel I'm getting to know, I had a conversation with one of my coworkers' sons who's 11, it's his birthday tomorrow, he's telling me all about what he wants for his birthday. I was telling him how he's probably not going to get a hoverboard because his mom just got a 20% pay cut, but anyways, that was funny, wasn't it?
Maggie, the degree to which you are rambling tonight is unlike anything I've
been
ever seen
cooped
before.
up in a house for, 7 days with the same people.
We need to cut this off because otherwise this is going to be a 3-hour episode.
Anyways, my point is there's a lot of silver linings happening and notice and appreciate them.
Yes. Great. And with that, we will...
Wait, I have 6 more things on my list.
Nope.
Just
you were not going to cover them. We're going to end this episode. All right.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll call it a night.
Okay.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks, Mike. See you
All right,
later.
Bye.